It was supposed to be a holiday. A quiet return to a familiar coastline, far from the gilded cages of Windsor and the silenced corridors of Clarence House. But as Princess Catherine stepped off the boat onto the shores of Tresco, flanked by Prince William and their 3 children, it became unmistakably clear, this was no ordinary summer escape. This was a strategic retreat into memory, a symbolic act wrapped in the stillness of sea breeze and seclusion. And somewhere deep within the golden light of the Isles of Scilly, the future of the monarchy was being rewritten, silently and without permission. For Catherine, the return to Dolphin House, a 6-bedroom stone cottage nestled behind the walls of Duchy-owned gardens, was more than just nostalgia. It was inheritance. It was power. The house itself, once open to the public at nearly £3,000 a week, now served as a private outpost for the Wales family, a territory under the Duchy of Cornwall, an institution her husband had inherited, but which she now silently commanded. No longer just the Princess of Wales, Catherine moved within these gardens like a woman testing the weight of future queenship. And behind her, 3 heirs ran barefoot on familiar soil, as if the kingdom had already changed hands. Prince William, ever the diplomat, masked the layers of this journey behind casual smiles and bicycle rides. But even locals noticed the shift. This wasn't merely the echo of childhood memories, it was the construction of legacy. William had once stood on these same beaches with his mother, Princess Diana, and now, with his own children, the wheel turned again. Yet this time, it was Catherine's presence that anchored the symbolism. Her deliberate silence, her unshaken calm amidst transition, told a story louder than any palace bulletin. While others fought over titles, Catherine had already begun inhabiting the role. The choice of Tresco was not without consequence. Queen Camilla, still reeling from shifting loyalties within the family, was notably absent, her silence louder than any royal protocol. Sources within the palace murmured that Camilla viewed the timing of the Wales family's public holiday, so soon after her own appearance at a Cornwall charity gala, as a deliberate message. That while she held a crown, she no longer held the people's affection, nor the symbolic heart of the duchy. And Catherine's ease in Tresco, her quiet yet commanding presence in a property Camilla once eyed with ambition, only deepened that wound. But Catherine did not need confrontation. Instead, she let nature, history, and maternal grace speak in her stead. Prince George, who celebrated his 9th birthday here, now roamed the island like a young prince in training. Princess Charlotte, ever observant, took boat rides and sketched birds on the Abbey garden paths, her notebooks already filled with the colors of inheritance. And Prince Lewis, untethered and free, thrived away from protocols and palatial expectations. For them, this island wasn't just a sanctuary, it was a classroom, and their mother, a quiet monarch in rehearsal. Behind the scenes, Prince William's actions became more precise. Conversations with locals turned to policy, maternity wards, housing for essential workers, ecotourism blueprints. While appearing relaxed, he was laying infrastructural roots, binding the duchy to his vision. In 2020 and again in 2024, his gestures, buying Cornish pasties, biking without security detail, speaking to shopkeepers, weren't random. They were curated acts of proximity. But Catherine? She remained slightly behind the lens, allowing the narrative to unfold without ever needing to speak. Because queens don't raise their voices. They raise the stage. The news had not yet made headlines, but within the walls of Clarence House, the silence was already cracking. Queen Camilla, seated beneath portraits of sovereigns past, reviewed photographs from Tresco with a tightening jaw, not of the beaches, not of the lighthouse, but of Catherine's posture. Regal. Grounded. Positioned. She had seen this before, long ago, in another woman whose shadow never truly left the crown. The Duchy of Cornwall, once her hope of securing legacy through proximity to power, had become Catherine's realm now. And Camilla could feel it, the island had shifted, and so had the court. There had been no confrontation. There never would be. Camilla knew that and would never stage an open rebellion. But what chilled her was Anne's silence. The Princess Royal, staunch and unbending, had visited her less and less. No warnings. No challenges. Just distance. And within that void, Camilla understood a truth she had long fought to avoid: the true royal loyalty was no longer hers to summon. It was drifting towards Catherine. Not because Catherine demanded it, but because she didn't have to. Behind closed doors, William's private secretariat had grown more active. Meetings with Duchy advisors increased. Communications with Scilly Council became weekly. Proposals for educational partnerships, sustainable infrastructure, and maritime preservation flowed, all bearing the quiet endorsement of Catherine. The princess's signature wasn't needed on documents. Her vision was already being implemented in the texture of decisions. Even the gardeners at Tresco Abbey had remarked, the roses were pruned the way she liked, as if she were coming to stay, even before she booked. In a calculated shift, Princess Charlotte made a rare solo appearance beside her mother at a public wildlife exhibit. The image, Catherine's hand gently resting on her daughter's shoulder, both in matching coats of pale blue, became an instant symbol. The next queen. And the queen after that. The message to the palace was unmistakable. Succession was no longer a debate, it was a declaration dressed in calm, composed femininity. No press release. No announcement. Just presence. Camilla responded in kind. That very week, a private dinner was arranged at Burke Hall. Key loyalists were summoned. Discussions turned sharp. Was Catherine accelerating too soon? Was Anne facilitating it? Was William drawing lines without consensus? But no one dared to suggest removing Catherine from visibility. To do so now would expose Camilla's vulnerability and Catherine's strength. It was too late. The court was no longer debating if Catherine would reign. They were debating how much longer Camilla could delay it. And then came the letter. King Charles, still recovering at Sandringham, had written to William. A private note, delivered by hand. No public statement accompanied it. But insiders reported the content an invitation, not a command. A meeting to discuss long-term succession plans. Not in London, but in Wales. On Duchy soil. Symbolism never missed its mark. Charles, once hesitant to acknowledge Catherine's rising influence, was now gently guiding it into structure. Camilla was not copied on the letter. That night, back at Anmar Hall, Catherine did not celebrate. She simply walked through the candlelit hallways, her children asleep, her husband silent beside her. She stared out the window toward the northern sky, not in triumph, but in quiet recognition of what had just begun. Power does not announce itself with trumpets. It arrives when no one dares to deny it anymore. Camilla watched the same stars from another room, alone. Her reflection on the windowpane had begun to look unfamiliar. A queen by title, yes. But without a battlefield to defend. Because the war was never declared. It was only won, in gardens, in silence, in summer.